Hi, welcome. Today's move of the day is crow pose. And for those of you that have been practicing arm balances for a while, or maybe just considering practicing arm balances, I think for many people they're scared because they feel like their upper body is just not strong enough. But in all reality, when you start practicing arm balances or just inversions in general, the more core stability you have and core understanding is really where the fluidity, grace, and ability to balance comes in any pose, but especially inversions and arm balances. So I'm going to show you a couple quick tips to hopefully help your crow experience be a little bit more soaring. All right, so we better just say hi really quick so then I can send them away. This is Shiva, and this is Pear Kitty, and so they live with me. I'm in my backyard today. And they love attention, so they think I'm playing with them right now. Okay, you have to go now. Yes, you have to go now. Okay. All right, they may end up staying too, so I hope you don't mind. All right, what you might need is a yoga block. And if you find that a couch may also be really helpful, so take the couch cushions off, or maybe leave them on, and you can actually perch up onto that if it's a little bit higher for you. You can consider stacking 2 blocks. I wouldn't stack 2 foam blocks, as that's not quite very stable. 2 cork blocks might work out as well. All right, so before we get into crow, I'm first gonna just work with a couple nice challenging, openings and also strength building exercises. So the first one we're gonna work with is called frog pose. And so with frog pose, all right guys, you have to move. Shiva, go, go. No, we're not playing. This is what I have to deal with when I practice outside and at home. So with crow pose, we're first gonna come into tiptoe balance and start opening up our hips. So I want you to turn your knees open, almost like you're balancing in bound angle, and now come forward, sorry Pear, so that you're resting on the insides of your knees and slowly lower yourself down. I'm gonna move back so I don't come off camera here. And slowly lower down so you get a nice groin stretch. Keep the soles of the feet together, and if necessary, balance your chest onto a block if you notice there's a lot of tightness. Try to relax your glutes as much as you can and really just work with the openness of the inner hips as much as possible. Nice deep inhalation, nice deep exhalation. This can be a great alternative to straddle as well if you feel like your straddles aren't very effective, and for many people they feel like they sit in straddle and they're so restricted that they just can't go anywhere. So feel free in your own timing, you can stay here as long as you'd like. This is just a short clip-its video. So when you're ready to, come back out. If not, pause me and then join me when you're ready. Bring your knees together and just sit back onto your heels, a nice little devotional. Inhale, roll yourself up. Great. So next pose we're gonna work with is squat. And so for many people, again, squat seems to be very challenging. So I would recommend either a wedge or a rolled towel for those of you with tight calf muscles, or as well, you can also sit onto a low block. So when you're ready to, set yourself up by turning your toes out and your heels slightly in, drop your hips to your calves, and just take a moment and kind of move your legs and wiggle your sit bones down. Try to get into a comfortable squatting position. And then elbows to the insides of the knees. Draw your knees open as you erect your spine. If you feel like you're up on the balls of the feet, this is where a rolled towel or a wedge, or possibly even sitting onto a yoga block, may be the most beneficial. Focus on the length of the spine without dumping your pelvis forward. And what I mean by that is when you're in squat, your hips aren't moving this way. It's going to be really hard to contract the pelvic floor and really difficult for you to get into the lower glute muscles. So inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Nice extension on the spine. Open your chest and take a couple good breaths here. If you'd like to, you can kind of move your hips around a little bit. There should be no tension on the knees. One of the basic movements we want to be able to do as we age is squat. Maybe not to this degree, but as we lose those capabilities, sometimes even as early as the age of 40, there's something to be said about that, and we really want to acknowledge these types of movements and make sure that we're working on these on a daily basis. All right, so again, you can hang out here as long as you need to. Hands release, head to the floor, lengthen the legs, so forward fold, shake out the head and neck. And then either step back into down dog. I'm going to turn sideways and do that. So one step back at a time, downward facing dog. And just to prep the upper body now, we'll work with down dog push-up. Keeping your body from coming forward, keep the angle and the deep pelvic core nice and strong. So I'm really feeling those pelvic core muscles contract. Press through your pointer finger and thumb. Inhale, bend the elbows. Exhale, push back. We're gonna work 15. If you feel like 10 is more effective, you feel like 5 is more appropriate. I want you to do what you feel comfortable with. Elbows go wide, so there's a little bit of deltoid activation here. Inhale when you bend. Exhale, almost like my hands are holding your hips, pulling you back. Thighs are strong but not locked. Two more. And then drop to your knees. All right, now the real fun begins, crow pose. The key with crow pose is to not only place your knees in the appropriate place, but to angle your body appropriately. For many people, they're riding parallel with the floor, and you actually want to change your torso angle so that the head is angling closer to the floor and the hips are moving up, up, up. And that's where that true core strength comes in, is to elevate the hips. So let's give it a couple tries and see how it goes. Perching on your block, now this can be very effective for a lot of people. Come up onto your little branch, just like a crow, and then draw your knees open. Oh, this is the poses that we were just working on. As I draw my knees open, I'm high on the balls of the feet. Look at my knees. My knees are turning up. Place your hands to the ground, slightly wider than your shoulders. Now I'm leaning forward onto my hands. Make sure your hands aren't too far away, or you're gonna find that that gap is just way too big to be able to acknowledge and work with. As my knees go up, they move closer to my triceps rather than towards my elbows, or shoulder is probably a better description or location. As I lean forward, notice how my elbows are already bent so that I have a place to hug my knees against. Inhale, pelvic core is strong. So I'm contracting anal sphincter, perineum, urethra, and deep transversus. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, I am now a new ornament. As I bring my weight to my arms, my core is what's lifting my hips. I can practice taking 1 foot at a time off the floor, and as I take both feet off the mat, I'm gonna lift my feet up and then possibly angle my arms straight. If not, I'm gonna keep a nice bent angle in order to allow myself to balance effectively. So again, the height for many people, because their hips are tight, their spine is tight, can help them get in more of an appropriate position. Now that being said, some people feel more effective actually coming from tripod and then coming into crow pose. So let's try that. When placing your hands with tripod, the head is the top of the triangle and the hands are off to the sides. So you should be able to see your fingertips. You may or may not need the block to come into tripod, so I'm just gonna ditch my block here. Place my head to the floor, slide my hands back, and then using the strength of my core, delicately set my knees to my triceps. This is also a good practice here. There is more weight on your head though, so you have to be okay with that. Possibly roll your mat. Now with a strong core, I'm hugging my inner thighs. I'm gonna shift the weight into my hands and slowly peel my head up off the floor, drawing my feet up, keeping my hips high. And then slowly coming down. If you need to, a little wrist release, tops of the hands towards the ground, lengthen through your arms and lean back, take a couple good breaths. Great work. A pose like crow takes a lot of time and dedication, but if you just commit a little bit every day, I know you'll be soaring high and very soon. From my heart to yours, from my soul to yours, get on your block, get on your couch. Remember, not every pose is perfect. There is no perfect pose, but the only thing that's gonna get us to where we wanna go is effort and practice daily. Namaste.